Alright guys, this is a Longplay review for Zub on the Amstrad CPC, released by Mastertronic in 1987, and here's the cover box art as always, and poor old Zub here, he looks like a squashed Boba Fett. In fact, he was supposed to look like this from the original designs. Well, here's the in-game sprites as well, quite a few frames of animation there, and there's Zub. Anyway, more on that in a bit. Let's get the game started off. And let's have a look at the lovely loading screen coming up. There it is, from Steve Pickford. Lovely use of colours and shading there. And here we are on the title screen. Be prepared. Yikes. Wow, quite an overload of things there. So we're going to read out bits of this. And this will actually give you a good overview of the game. We're going to look at the top left window first of all, next to the character of Zub there. And we're going to read that out in just a second. I'll let you just soak in all the things that are going on at the moment and the music. Okay, we're going to start reading that bit now. After the credits there. Right, there we go. What is Zub? This is a question that is often asked. The truth is, we don't really know. This computer game has been put together using the few scraps of data which still exist concerning the ill-fated Zub system. The central character is called Zub, as were all natives of the Zub system. Zub was a genetically engineered life form, a fighting machine. His mission was foolhardy in the extreme, as you'll doubtless discover for yourself in the next few minutes. We may never really know the truth about Zub. Apparently this is version 4.0, credits game design by John Pickford, written by Peter Gartside, graphic design Steve Pickford, music and sound effects by the always excellent David Whittaker, and it's a binary design production. So we'll go for the bottom left now. Just scrolled off, right, there it goes, bottom left now. Your mission is simple. Make your way to the planet Zub 10, steal the green eyeball of Zub, and return to Zub 1. In order to travel undetected, you must use the Zub teleport network, which is no longer used due to the continuing Zub wars. Next box, each planet has 3 teleport units which are in orbit a mile or so above the planet's surface. Each of the units will transport you to a different planet within the Zub system. Now moving up there to the right hand side of the screen, where it says, thanks to Paul Ranson for the help in finishing this game, especially for the help with the sprite routine, and thanks to, what's that, Noli Simone Hodgson for the holiday. And then thank you to Pete's Hut for the food and drink that helped me finish this game in the early hours of Tuesday morning night. Right. And there's another box there to the far right in the middle. I think I'm going mad. There are big pink Zubs coming out of my Amstrad at me. They haunt me in my sleep. They're coming for me. No, arg. I think I'm going mad. There we go. Each planet is protected by... Oh god, there we go. Bottom right box. Each planet is protected by its own fleet of security robots. Some of these are relatively harmless and will merely attempt to push you off the platforms. Good luck. Oh, finally got through that. Right, options. Going to redefine our keys. The usual cursor keys and spacebar. Difficulty level next. I'm going to choose 5 for ARG, so we're going to play this on the hardest difficulty, guys. And now we're going to start the game, and here we go. Time for some zubbing action. Lovely music, lovely sound effects, really nice detailed Mode 1 graphics, and it seems to play really smoothly and nice. And as you can see there, guys, I'm jumping between like these cloud-like platforms, shooting these enemies, and you need to duck and then hold down left or right to move the platform that you're currently on. But you have to be ducked to do that, otherwise you'll just run off the edge of the platform and you will fall all the way to the bottom unless you're very, very lucky and land on another platform below you. So you have to be very, very precise and careful here. And it is incredibly frustrating when you've got right near the top and get knocked off by one of these creatures and have to work your way back all the way up again. So prepare to get really angry and annoyed. But once you get the technique down, I don't think this is too hard a game, personally. And I never owned this game back in the day. I came across this game on the last Amstream, my Amstrad live stream that I do every Friday, where we had a look at the best of the budget games on the Amstrad that were games only released on budget, that weren't full price re-releases, and Zub was one of the suggestions. And what a great suggestion it was too. Oh no! Ooh, that was lucky. So yeah, guys, I managed to sort of play this all the way through. I was going to talk about a bug and a crash that happened actually during this long play, but I'll come on to that later. So yeah, this was a suggestion on the last Amstream as one of the best budget games ever released on the Amstrad. I think it's up there. I think it's definitely in the top lists of the best budget games. And whilst initially I found it quite frustrating, eventually as I got into it I enjoyed it more and more. And it's a game that really creeps up and grows on you. And I certainly started finding it very, very enjoyable. But when I think I first played this, never owned it, but I played it on an emulator many years later. There you go, just reached the top. I had no idea what I was doing. I lasted about a couple of minutes before, can't be bothered with this. I never played it again, which was stupid. Perhaps I should have read the instructions, but then again, there's very, very little instructions of the game, and purposefully so apparently. So there we go, that was just showing you the teleport system between the planets. Now at the top of the plane area, guys, there's 3 different platforms right at the very top, which is, you can see denoted by the 3 arrows in the like mini map in the top right there. You have to choose the right one. Now there's no indication as to which one is the right one to use to move to the next planet. One of them will move you to the next planet, one of them will move you back to the previous planet, and potentially one of them might move you forward 2 planets, which we actually just did. We moved to planet Zub 3 from planet Zub 1. You can see that in the bottom right corner, it shows you which planet number we're at. We're at Zub 3. Now, this was the first professional game that the Pickford Brothers, John and Steve, worked on together. I think they probably had collaborated together in their bedrooms in early programming days before they got actually officially employed by a company. So Zub kind of was their big game that they worked on solely together. And this was when they worked for Binary Design. There we go. They finished this at the end of 1986, and they hoped that the Zub character would go on to spawn a series of games. Sadly, that wasn't to happen, and well, when you see the ending to this game, it would prove, let's just say, very difficult anyway. So wait and see on that one. But John and Steve, they both went on to great careers working on some big games. Probably most famous for Plock on the SNES. So John Pickford was the original Specky programmer of this, but the CPC version was done by Peter Gartside. Unfortunately, I can't seem to find any other games done by him on the Amstrad listed anywhere. Maybe I've not looked hard enough. But the graphics on both the Specky and Amstrad versions were done by his brother Steve Pickford, also known as Steve. You may recognise his graphics in games like Ghosts and Goblins, Glider Rider, Amaroot and Feud. And of course, music and sound effects by the always excellent David Whittaker. So, one thing that you will need to do in this game, guys, is map out the teleporter routes. So, as I mentioned previously, there's 3 different teleporters waiting for us at the top of the planet. And you've got to choose the right one. So this is where your mapping will have to come in handy, and make a note of which which one on which planet will take you to another planet, and which planet that will be. So you can find maps around the internet, certainly on the CPC Power website and World of Spectrum website and all that, so you can follow that. And that's what I use to get through this game. Obviously no cheats and no snapshot reloads or anything like that. So I had to do one or two actually, I'll tell you why in a minute. So we chose the left route there, we're on planet 4. And thankfully it's taken us to planet 6. And we completely skipped out planet 5. So I'm taking the quickest route possible. So that particular platform we landed on at the top took us straight to planet 6, skipping out planet 5. One of the other platforms would have taken us to planet 5. The other one would have taken us backwards to planet 3. Now, did you notice the Zub character was appearing in the top right corner there? And now it's changed to a mini-map view. Look, this is one of the things I didn't realise when first playing the game, and also on the Amstream, that you could press the control key on your keyboard and it would change to a mini-map view, which makes the game so much easier. I don't think it's actually even listed in the instructions as a control, so perhaps people would have come across it by accident. I don't know. But certainly now you can sort of see where the enemies are coming at you from and how close they are to you, and also where the side of the plane area is. Now at the sides, it's just black space and black screen. Oh, I've screwed up there, sorry guys. So you don't know without the mini-map if you're about to hit the edge of a border, and if you do, it like sort of electrifies you, you lose a load of energy, and it'll also knock you off your platform more than likely, thus sending you right back down to the bottom again, which is very, very frustrating. But the mini-map shows you whereabouts you are. So we're in the centre of those 4 white dots there, and the red dots obviously show you the enemy location. Now there's like sort of a shimmering horizontal line towards the top of that mini-map. That's your current energy level. Now if you press the control key and switch it back to the character of Zub, it actually shows you the energy level of Zub in terms of the sprite changing from Zub as he is normally to a skeleton version of Zub, and the skeleton is like slowly revealed as the energy is drained. Now normally between levels there's like a little mini game where you can basically press a fire button to stop an arrow or a ticker or whatever landing on a power-up, a power pill or something like that to restore energy. Throughout this playthrough, for some reason we don't get that little mini game. Probably because I'm doing quite well here and I've chosen the best route or something like that, and I haven't lost that much energy. So you're not going to see that in this long play. There we go. Take the left route here on planet Zub 6. Now normally this is where you'd get the mini game, but maybe because I'm doing so well that the mini game doesn't appear. But I've certainly experienced that on the live stream we did. And it's a chance to recharge some of your energy. So there you go guys, you can see the character Zub there in the right there. And that's what he looks like. And we've just changed the mini-map there. Okay, so originally this game was going to be called Zob. So Z-O-B. Until it was realised at the last minute by an angry representative from Mastertronic, who showed it off to a French distributor, that the word Zob meant something very rude in French, and it's basically a slang word for a willy. So this was very, very, very nearly called named after a willy, basically. So the O was changed to a U very quickly, and Zub was born rather than Zob. In fact, you would have seen Zob on the design artwork I showed you right at the start of the stream. Although, actually, from digging around, And again, not sure how reliable this is because it's coming from the internet and Wikipedia and stuff, but apparently Zub has a meaning as well. Zub can mean tooth in Czech, Serbian and Slovak. So this character is called Tooth, maybe. Anyway, so quickly, let's just recap on the story again. Zub is tasked by King Zub to retrieve the green eye of Zub, which is on planet Zub 10. So we're trying to get to planet 10 here, guys. You start on planet Zub 1 and have to use the Zub teleporter network to move between the planets. Reach the top of the planet and you will find 3 different teleporters, as discussed already, but you don't know which planet each of them will take you to. So then, once you've got the green eye on planet 10, then you just have to work your way back to planet 1, and then we get the ending. I found a lot of information about this game actually on the Pickford Bros' own website. So if you want to check that out, I'll put a link in the description below, but it's www.z-free.com/Pickford Bros and Pickford Bros, and loads of useful information and story behind the game, and our assets and all that kind of stuff to be found on there, which was very helpful in making this long play video and researching. And in a little bit, I'm going to give you a bit more background story on the making of the game and other things that went into it. But I think we're about to come to the end of Planet 9 here, so we're about to reach Planet 10, which is where we'll find the green eye of Zub. Yes, there we go. We're going to go off to Planet 10 now. So once we get the green eye of Zub here, we then have to work all the way back to Planet 1. There we go. You have found the green eye of Zub. It was in your pocket all the time. Now guide Zub back to Zub 1. Hit fire. What? There's certainly a cheeky sense of humour running throughout this game. Even certainly in the manual, where it lists, it says something like the makers of this game didn't want to give you any instructions whatsoever. They wanted to give you a blank piece of paper inside, but we're giving you some little bit of hints and guides here anyway, or something like that. So yeah, they obviously had quite a bit of a cheeky sense of humour and an irrelevant sense of humour and all that kind of stuff. And certainly it's a game not to be taken too seriously. And I like the enemy sprites here, those chattering skeleton things, skeleton heads. Having a bit of trouble here, starting off level 10, but there we go. Anyway, so now we're working our way back to Zub 1. So let's give you a bit more story behind the game then and the making of it. So this was done on a 12 to 16 week deadline. The Pickford Brothers, they weren't entirely satisfied with the end product, feeling it was kind of unfinished and maybe a little bit rushed. They actually wanted to put in a lot more stuff like power-ups, maybe some other bits and bobs to like pad things out. However, I think it's fine though, and this is pretty stunning for a budget-only release. In fact, it's almost pretty much full price quality. I don't think I'd have been too unhappy paying full price for this back in the day, even though I probably would have found this quite frustrating as a kid, but there we go. But however, they still managed to get lots of nice little touches, like the bonkers menu screen we saw, and these were all done out of hours, at home, unpaid, overtime, whatever. And the brothers were hoping people would appreciate these extra touches, and yes, they do pay off. They really do. I mean, no one's going to forget Zub in. No one's going to forget Zub. No. So most of their time, to be honest, they admit, was spent on the design of the Zub character, hoping he'd probably become like a long-running character in lots of different games, maybe, or whatever. And a lot of time was spent on the movement or feel of Zub in terms of walking, jumping, touches to the gravity and all that kind of stuff. Much to the annoyance of probably the bosses at Mastertronic and Binary Design. But that's essential for a platformer. If you don't get that right, then it fails the core gameplay mechanic, and it fails as a game then. And it is actually quite fun to control and play. It handles really nicely, and it's got really lovely, responsive, tight controls. Yes. But what it meant, though, with all this extra time spent on that, it left very little time, though, for all the extra stuff they were hoping to do with the game. They were very proud of the character they created, although, as mentioned earlier, they were very disappointed with the box art, even though it's actually quite nice, actually. As I said earlier as well, it kind of looks like a squashed Boba Fett from Star Wars. On the website as well, they estimate that the CPC version sold around 50,000 copies, and that the C64 and Specky each sold 60,000 copies themselves each. But that is purely an estimate from them, and maybe not entirely accurate. But it is interesting to note that the CPC was a lot closer to sales to its rivals than other people would have you think. You know, obviously it was like the third place computer at the time, but there's this view that like the Amstrad really sold weakly compared to the Specky and Commodore 64. I think the truth is somewhere maybe in the middle. I think it was probably sold, copies were probably sold pretty close to the Specky and Commodore 64 numbers, but still probably nowhere near. But there we go. And that wacky menu screen with all the different windows and stuff, that was John's idea of what a top spec Windows style PC might look like, but they never used one, never seen one. Well, they weren't too far off, maybe. Hey, there we go. So let's talk about the other versions of the game quickly. Now, the ZX Spectrum version, the Specky. Arguably the lead version, although all of them were all developed simultaneously, all three versions, Amstrad, Specky and Commodore 64. At Binary Design, there was always one person assigned to the Specky coding, another person the Amstrad coding, and another person for the Commodore 64, and then sort of graphics and art and music was sort of shared between the several team members. But I think that sounds like the music was subcontracted out to David Whittaker, and that was a wise choice. Anyway, so Specky version. Lead version? Probably. So, comparing the Amstrad to the Specky version, on the Amstrad there are slightly less graphics and frames of animation on the main sprite. Although it's kind of hardly noticeable. Basically, first of all, the CPC version is missing the nice death animation completely. Let's get that out of the way. On the Specky version, when you die, you turn to like a skeleton and your bones crumble to the floor. That's completely missing on the Amstrad version. But as for the main sprite in-game, not including the death animation, all that's missing on the Amstrad version is what's called the idle animation, where if you're stood still and not doing anything, which is unlikely because you're always having to move in this game. On the Specky version, the idle animation, all it is like the eyes shift sort of left to right, and the eyes actually look at you as if like, come on, what are you doing? Why am I still here doing nothing? So that's a nice little touch that is missing on the Amstrad version. And also, plus the floor, as we see here on the Amstrad version, stays pretty much the same throughout the planet. It's just like the colours are cycled and changed. The Specky version gets different planet floors. But the CPC does get some new and different enemies, at least, though. Some of them, I think, actually look better than the Specky version, but there we go. The one big difference, actually, is that the platform, the actual platforms we're moving on, they're a lot larger on the Specky version, about double the size, which probably makes it a bit easier. So, the CPC version actually presents a higher challenge with the smaller platforms, but I actually found the game a little bit easy. Some people find this extremely hard and frustrating, but this is literally probably my third time ever playing the game, and I managed to get through it all. So maybe the increased difficulty is to the CPC's favour and benefit, maybe? I don't know. It's up to you. It's up to you to decide that, I think, when you play the game. The Specky version also had a 128K version included. The Amstrad didn't get that, sadly, and it has lots of extra stuff in it. For example, it has an intro sequence that mimics the James Bond gun barrel style intro, the very famous gun barrel. Then you see the start of every Bond movie, apart from the modern ones. Also at the end of a level on the 128K version, there's a shooting accuracy bonus. But most interestingly of all, the Speccy version has a hidden game called Light Farce, but only on the 128K version. That can be activated by a key press. I think you have to go to pause mode and hold down 2, 4, 6 and 8 or something. Or is it 1, 3, 5 and 7? One of those two. And yeah, there's a hidden game in it. That is not present on the Amstrad version though, sadly. But we're not really missing much. It was quite a fun little, like, vertically scrolling shoot 'em up in space. Pretty simple stuff. Nothing too complex, but it was a nice inclusion. That's also missing on the Commodore version too. But that was only an added extra bonus for the 128K version, where Mastertronic decided to give the brothers, oh, really screwed up here, give the brothers some extra time to help try and promote the new 128K Speccy and get some games released for that and cash in on the new owners of that. There we go. But I would probably say that the Speccy version is probably the best version of Zub, just because of all the extra presentation and animation and stuff like that. It's just whether you prefer the larger or smaller platforms. If you find Zub too easy, then the CPC version presents more of a challenge, and maybe that makes it the better one. I don't know. I'm going to have to take my... I know I'm maybe slightly biased towards the Amstrad, but overall I'll probably say that the Speccy version just edges it. As for the Commodore 64 version, this is probably the weakest version. I think there seems to be something a little bit iffy about the collision detection, and the enemies don't actually push you off the platforms. Instead they just drain your energy, and that's all they do. Also, Zub himself... Oh no, I've really screwed up here, sorry. This is the one planet I really struggled on for some weird reason. What was I going to say? Oh yes, on the Commodore version, jumping and falling is a lot slower. It feels a bit odd actually. It sort of takes away the speed and the impact of the game, I think, a bit. Also, weirdly, the screen has sort of been letterboxed, so it's wider rather than it is taller. So the horizontal height of the plane area is a lot smaller and squashed, which is actually kind of a bit of a problem when you're always jumping upwards to reach the top. So ultimately it's a lot more frustrating, not as nicely presented, the graphics aren't quite as nice, and the running animation on the floor looks really crap. Oh guys, I'm so sorry, I'm really struggling on this planet here. Oh my god. Don't worry, we'll get through it soon. We're near the end anyway. So there we go. Speccy version, probably the best. Amstrad very, very, very close second, and the Commodore 64 version the worst, but it's still a very decent game as Zub on the C64. Review scores at the time: Amstrad Action Magazine, issue 16, page 77. They gave the graphics 67%, which is harsh. Sound effects and music 71%. Wow, that's really harsh. Grab factor 78%, and staying power 66%, with an overall final score of 76%. Blimey. I do not know what the reviewer was on that day. Maybe he had a bad Monday morning or something like that. I don't know. Or maybe he just sucked at the game, because it can be a very frustrating game. But like, why such a low score for the graphics and sound effects and music? They're brilliant, especially the sound effects and music. Sure, it's not Mode 0 and glorious 16 colours and chunky pixels, but I think actually the Mode 1 graphics here actually kind of suit it. It's really nice and detailed, and we get a lot more detail on the animations and stuff like that. So for once I'm advocating Mode 1. Normally I'm a Mode 0 guy. I want those big chunky pixels and lots of colour. But there we go. There we go. Excellent. We're coming to Planet 3 now. And we've only got one more hop to get to Planet 1 there. So very near the end of the game. As for my review score, guys, well, I'm not going to give this 76% or the equivalent of 7.5 out of 10. No, 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 no. I don't think it quite deserves a 9 out of 10, but maybe just underneath it. So I'd either go with sort of full points or half points. So I'd have to give this maybe an 8.5 out of 10. But if it was a percentage score, maybe around the 87 or 88% or something like that. So that's my score for the game. I don't think I've got anything else to really mention about the game. There's a lot more to read up on the Pickford Bros website, which is www.z-free.com. Link in the description below. And yeah, you're going to have a read of that after this video is finished, maybe. Have I got anything else to mention about the game? I like to try and destroy enemies in big groups at a time. Now, obviously, actually, yeah, I should mention that difficulty level we chose was difficulty level 5, which purely means 5 enemies spawn. So if you choose difficulty 1, only 1 enemy will spawn, and so forth. When you actually shoot them, they fly back up to the top of the screen stunned, but when they reach the top, they'll start coming down again. So you never truly destroy or kill them or anything like that. They just go up to the top. So I tend to try to destroy them all in one go, or hit them all in one go, so they're not sort of spread out coming down one at a time, one after each other. Bunch them together if you can, and that will help a lot. Just really take your time and get used to the controls of how you move on a platform. Make sure you're as centre as possible on a platform as well. And there we go. We're now moving back to Planet Zub 1. There we go, we've done it. Zub has completed his task, and King Zub awards his greatest honour, execution at dawn. What an ending! What an ending! How harsh is that? And then we're back to the absolutely bonkers, crazy menu screen here. Good lord. So there you go, guys. That was Zub on the Amstrad CPC. I think released by Mastertronic in 1987, finished at the end of 1986 in 12 to 16 weeks by the legendary Pickford Bros. And you can find them also around on Twitter and stuff like that. They're still very, very active today. Yeah, this is an absolute classic on budget. So yeah, I think an 8.5 out of 10 from me, or perhaps like an 87-88% if we're doing it in percents. So guys, please give us a like and a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already. Don't forget streams every Friday, and I'll see you all again very soon. Thanks for watching. Cheers. So thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed that. If you did, please click a like below, leave a comment, and also subscribe if you haven't already. And over that way, there's another video for you to check out. Zypho out.